Hey, Wes, how you doing? I was talking with Wade, your dad, and talking about football as a family. How important has it been to have Wade as a role model to kind of really impart his knowledge to you, and also just obviously for being the dad and man that he is?
Well, for me, growing up, he was just my dad. He was just I just wanted to be like my dad, and being around football, kind of learning a lot through osmosis, really with him, and the conversations I was having as a kid were with an NFL football coach, where I was learning a lot of things I didn't always know that I was learning at the time, but you end up picking up a lot of things just from those experiences. But once I got in the league, his reputation as a man and as a coach um, has really been good for me. Just in the fact that he's well respected, but also really well liked by both players and coaches that he worked with. So when they meet me, until they really get to know me, they think I'm a good guy too.
Next question comes from Teresa Walker. Teresa, you may ask your question.
And Wes, I think I'm going to follow up on the vein. I just got in for the part of your answer on that last question, but coming from the coaching line that you do, Baum and Wade, how much did that influence you into wanting to become a coach? And what kind of tips, tricks, or suggestions did you maybe pick up from them that have helped you in your career?
Yeah, thanks. Well, it certainly helped me a lot. Just from conversations with Dad watching football games about clock management, timeouts, situations, those sort of things. It wasn't like, I was at home drawing up things on the grease board really with him. And then the opportunities I had as a young kid to be able to go to the facility to not only kind of sit in the back in some of the meetings with the coaches, but also to watch NFL football players, to see them up close, to be a ball boy at training camp, and kind of see the athletes in this league. For a long time, doing that, I felt like when I actually got to this level that I maybe had a sense of what these guys were supposed to look like.
Thank you.
Next question comes from Jay Skursky. Jay, you may ask your question.
Hi, Wes. I'm a couple of miles here from Williamsville North in Buffalo. What are your recollections of growing up in the area, playing at Williamsville North, and what does your experience in Western New York and the Buffalo region mean to you?
It means a lot to me. I moved there to go to North the summer before my junior year of high school. And so I was technically only living there for 2 years, but my whole college career, I was going back to Williamsville for Christmas break, summer break. It was one of those things where you just keep learning over and over that the people make the place. And we had been in Denver for 6 years. And to be completely honest, as a family, I don't think all of us were super excited about, picking up and moving after kind of being established in one place for a while. But it ended up being one of the great stops in Dad's coaching career in my young life. And still have a lot of great friends. I mean, my best friend was our running back in high school, who was best man at my wedding. So I'm still very close with a lot of those guys, those Buffalo guys, still on the text chain, still, kind of feeling that heartbreak in the playoffs this year with those guys. I'm still a Bills fan. Fortunately, they're not in the same conference, so I can still root for the Bills, especially when they're playing any NFC teams. But it was really a good time in my life. Really enjoyed going to North, being in that area, and of course a lot of the great food and just good friends, good people out there.
Next question comes from Gabrielle. Gabrielle, you may ask your question.
Thank you. And it's Gabriel from WRHU,
Apologies.
New York. No worries. Everyone gets that confused. But you've got to be on a more personal level with Kendall Blanton, who's been more important increasingly as the weeks go on. Just speak on his preparation since you've been kind of been more hands-on with him.
Yeah, thanks, Gabriel. Kendall has been a guy that it's been a long time coming for him. All he's really done is work since he started on our practice squad and eventually has gotten to this position. He's a guy that is, I appreciate the fact that he takes responsibility for his own career, meaning that not only does he take the coaching and work hard, but he's also coming to me extra saying, what else can I do? What do I need to do here? What did you think about this? Just the extra stuff of a young player that's trying to make his name in the league and help the team in any way he can. But and then on a personal level, he's just a really good human being and a strong part of our team. He kind of has a relationship with all kinds of guys. He's usually, you can find him if we're not in meetings, he's usually cutting it up with guys in the locker room or in the training room. He's just been a real positive to our culture.
Thank you.
Next question comes from Arena 4. You may ask your question. Okay, not allowing me to go to him, so we'll go to Aaron. Aaron, you may ask your question. Aaron, you're muted.
Sorry about that. Wes, one thing in the profession that's pretty cool is when people start to talk about coaching their future and for jobs and things like that. Obviously, the focus is the game and the ring, but how flattering is that to now where people are talking about, well, as things move around with the Rams, with Kevin, and people talk about you and your potential, what does that mean to you?
Thanks, Aaron. Yeah, I really haven't, to be honest. I mean, I know a lot of coaches say this, but I really try to kind of stay away from a lot of the talk, whether it's good or bad, and just kind of focus on what I'm doing. Certainly, you work hard, you try to do the best you can, and you hope that at some point you have an opportunity to advance wherever that might be. We all have our ambitions, but really I just try to focus on being a good staff member, helping Sean in this case is any way I can, and making sure that my guys know that I'm giving them everything that I can every day, and that I'm the same person every day, and kind of not being up and down. Just I can be a steady force, kind of that's going to always do everything I can to help them get better, and really that's my goal as far as coaching.
Thank you, Wes, and good luck.
Thank you.
Next question comes from Stu Jackson. Stu, you may ask your question.
Hey, Wes, wanted to ask you about Kendall Blanton. What impresses you the most about, I guess, his rise in development from a guy you guys brought in as a college free agent in 19 to now being somebody who's really stepped up and met the moment here in the playoffs when he's been asked to?
Well, thanks, Stu. I think you really said it. What's impressed me, you can prepare these guys and you can do everything you can to, in a sense, hope that they're ready, when the lights come on, so to speak. But everything he's done is he's just gone about it the right way. He's worked hard. He asks questions. He takes notes. He works on the techniques. He works on his own. He watches film on his own. All the things that the good players do. And while saying that, I'd like to take some credit for that, but I would give a lot of credit to guys like Tyler Higbee, who's really the leader of our tight end room, and Johnny Munt, who's also been a great example of a guy that just kind of does everything right. And then when the opportunities came, really produced in any role they were asked to do, whether it be the blocking aspect, pass protection, and obviously when they get their opportunities to catch the ball. So I've been really pleased with Kendall.
Next question comes from Mark Craig. Mark, you may ask your question.
Yeah, Wes, is curious to get your thoughts on Kevin O'Connell. Just what would you say his strongest strength is, and what makes you think he'll be successful when he becomes head coach of the Vikings?
Thanks, Mark. I never said I did think you'd be. No, just kidding. Well, obviously, I think the world of Sean and his success has obviously he's warranted for anyone. If you look at their record in the first 5 years of their career, this is his second Super Bowl. He's an excellent coach, and while they're different, I think Kevin has some of the same qualities as far as an aptitude for the kind of the nuts and bolts of football, an attention to detail, a passion for it, and an ability to communicate. All those things that Sean has. Each person is unique, but those are the traits that I see in both of them that I think is really ultimately what makes a really good head coach.
Thanks, Wes.
Next question comes from John McMullen. John, you may ask your question.
Hi, Wes. Congratulations on getting to where you are. Just had an opportunity to interview your dad recently, and I was just curious. You talked about compartmentalizing in your football philosophy, just how much he meant to that and how much he kind of taught you about this particular profession.
I'm sorry, John, did I miss the question there?
Just your dad's sort of impact on how you are able to compartmentalize what he taught you about some of those things you were discussing earlier, as far as whether it's Kevin moving on, whether you getting promoted or moving on, just the compartmentalizing aspect, how much he taught you about this profession.
A lot of my philosophy on coaching, that it's a teaching job, really, and that you're really here to serve the players, and all of those things I learned from him. But as far as compartmentalizing, moving up and those types of things, I would be totally honest saying that when I got in the league as a young coach, I said, I was naive. In my mind, my career was going to go much different than it actually happened. It was a quality control, and then you think, okay, and eventually I'll earn my way into a position coaching job, and then I'll be a coordinator, and then maybe I'll have an opportunity, if everything works out right, to be a head coach. And here I am in my 15th year, tight ends coach, 9 years tight ends coach. I was 3 years as a offensive quality control, then 3 years working with the offensive line. So it was my 7th year before I actually got a position coaching job. And if that's taught me anything, it really just taught me that you can't really force your career to happen. You just have to try to do the best you can in your role. And for whatever reason, some people's careers kind of shoot off and up into the sky, and some people take a different path. So I'm happy that I took the path that I'm on, because there's a lot of things I think that I wouldn't have learned if it would have happened differently. So I'm just grateful for this opportunity. 15 years in the league, and this is my first opportunity to play in a Super Bowl. actually was the first year that I was on a team that went past the divisional round. So, and my dad was 42 years in the NFL and went to 3 and won 1. So, you know, really in the last 15, 20 years, if you weren't affiliated with Tom Brady in any way, then you probably have had a hard time and known how hard it is to get here. So really just trying to appreciate and be grateful for the opportunity.
Thanks, Wes.
Next question comes from Jake Malik. Jake, you may ask your question.
Hey, Wes, how are you doing today?
Great, Jake. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. So I was talking to Kendall Blanton before, and I was asking him how he gets prepared for this game, knowing that, you know, with the status of Higbee kind of up in the air currently, he might be the starter. And he kind of talked about how obviously he prepares, but he also said, don't count out Higbee. He's a pretty tough guy, and you don't want to count him out, especially in this game. Can you just talk about really both of them, how tough Higbee is, and you know, that there is still a chance he'll play, and just that's kind of how he is, and also just how well Kendall's been handling this whole situation and preparing to potentially start in the biggest game of his career.
Yeah, well, Higbee is, you know, tough as nails. I mean, as tough as they come. These tight ends, you know, being able to, people mostly on the outside notice the catching aspect, but they're in there in the trenches and most of these runs, and they're doing a lot of dirty work. And generally, they're not as big, not as long, not as strong, not as heavy as the defenders that they're playing against. Tyler's probably 240 pounds. So he's all football. I mean, I can't tell you how many games that he's just nicked up, has to come out, goes back in, you know, does everything he can throughout the week to make sure he can get turned over to play in that next game. And that's kind of the way he lives, but he's all about it. Not every guy is like a Tyler Higbee, but he's just a phenomenal person. One of my favorite guys that I've ever coached, just even from an offensive standpoint, not only just tight ends, just a guy, a coach's dream kind of guy that just loves ball, gives it everything he has, and wants to do anything he can to help the team win. He's never been a guy who's selfish or asking for more targets. It's just any way we can, anything we have to do to win. That's what Tyler's about. So love Tyler, just so appreciative to have had this opportunity to coach him over the last few years. And really, he's the example. Like I said, he's the leader of the room. He's the example in the room. It makes my job a lot easier when there's an actual player in the room for guys like Kendall Blanton, for guys like Bryson Hopkins, and of course, even Johnny Munt, you know, to have an example like him that's leading the room and then producing on Sundays where he can actually be a leader in the sense that they see what he does, how he prepares, but then also it translates to the field.
Next question comes from Dara. Dara, you may ask your question.
Cheers, thanks. Hi, Wes. How's it going? Greetings from Dublin in Ireland. I just want to ask, you came on board with the team just after Super Bowl 53, and that's obviously the last Super Bowl appearance for the Rams. Have you heard any sort of talk about that game being used as motivation this week, or has the team just been solely focused on what's to come on Sunday?
Great question, and hello to Ireland. That's pretty cool. I have not, that hasn't been something that's been talked about. You know, there are very few players. I think Tyler Higbee being one of them, Whitworth, maybe Havenstein was there, but with the turnover in this league, it really is a new team every year. You know, you've got some of the same pieces, but guys are coming, guys are going. And really, I think if you start talking about what happened 4 years ago, it'd really be lost on a lot of the guys that weren't there that are saying, hey, you know, I got nothing to do with that. And that really is the truth. So even from week to week, we know that, it's not always whoever's the better team, all that stuff. It's the team that plays best in that 3.5 hour window right there. That's going to win the game. So we really just tried to keep our focus on this week, trying to keep some normalcy as much as we can leading into the Super Bowl. And I think our guys are locked in and focused and really just worried about playing the game one snap at a time, kind of being where their feet are planted.
Great. Thank you.
Next question comes from Shelby Allen. Shelby, you may ask your question.
Excluding members of your family tree, which NFL head coach inspired you the most growing up?
Growing up, well, I would say the guy that inspired me most, just because I was, a young kid and being able to be around the football teams that he was coaching a couple times in Denver, and then for a couple years when my dad was in Atlanta, was Dan Reeves. You could see the attention to detail on the practice field. He was demanding, but also a great person, and he had an influence on me as a young kid. Just how he treated me, even just going from Philadelphia, and I wasn't expecting anybody to. Dad was with Buddy Ryan, and Buddy, I was just a little kid running around, and then the first time I meet Dan Reeves, it was in the off season, and he says, "Hey, why don't you take Wes? Let's go out to lunch," and took us out to lunch. So just him as a person, but then just kind of watching him on the field and knowing that he was a former player for Tom Landry. And I knew a lot of that history of Texas football in general, just from my dad, my grandfather. So I would say Dan Reeves would be the guy.
Awesome. Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
Next question comes from Zolt Kuhn with Arena 4. You may ask your question.
Hey, Wes, and greetings from Budapest, Hungary. Obviously, Tyra is still questionable for the game, but you found a breakout player with Kendall Blanton. What made him one of your bigger assets in the last couple of weeks?
I think just for Kendall, thank you for the question. I think in general, just Kendall taking advantage of the opportunities. The play against the Bucks where he scored a touchdown. Well, we actually thought that that was kind of a play that we could go either way. We had a tight end on each side, Tyler on one side. That play was designed really to go to him unless they switched the front and set it the other way, which is what ended up happening. So we changed the play to the opposite tight end and didn't expect them to play it quite that way, but we knew we had an answer just in case. And then Kendall was able to come through and actually in that game as well, he had two catches. He caught a comeback against Jamel Dean, the corner, on a play where, I would say in my 3 years here, I don't know if any of our tight ends have caught a comeback against a corner on a play like that. But the ball came his way and he was ready for it when his opportunity arose. And then, of course, with Higbee going down last game, Higbee goes down and here comes Kendall and has to play the rest of the ball game. And we had a lot of plays that we really liked that really were more designed to have Higbee in the game. And we didn't want to lose out on some of those plays from the game plan. And really, I credit Sean and I credit Kendall, Sean, for having the confidence to go ahead and call some of those. We ran a flea flicker tight end screen to the tight end who had to block Joey Bosa for about 3 seconds and then shed him and get the ball and get down the field. And he just did a great job when his number was called, and then especially in the blocking game as well. I was really proud of how he performed.
Thanks for the answer, Coach. Have a nice game on Sunday and best luck.
Thank you.
Well, that concludes the media session. Thank you for your time, Coach, and good luck on Sunday.
Thanks a lot. I appreciate it.
Appreciate it.